Well, it is 7 o'clock. I would like to welcome everyone here this evening. First order of business is we're all going to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up, we're going to consider the minutes of the March 14, 2023 meeting and the March 23, 2023 agenda review.
Mayor, I would move for approval.
I second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item number 2, we're going to consider a proclamation declaring April 9 through 16, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Chief?
Chiefs, plural.
Chiefs, plural?
The Two Stooges. Where's the third?
That's a 2 for 1.
It's a team. Strength in numbers. Which one do you want? First, third, fourth, all of it? Go for it.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say that all too often, and I wasn't supposed to do this, Scott was telling me not to ad-lib anything, but all too often in our team, our communications in our 911 center, those employees don't get recognized as they should. And it's been kind of well overdue that we've been able to do this or should do this for this group, because all too often they are the first ones to receive the calls for emergencies, which pass it on to us. And they just don't get recognized as they should. And so that's why we're here today, is to hopefully get this accomplished.
Yes.
I'll start it out.
Okay.
Whereas the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, APCO, endorses and recognizes the second full week in April each year as Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. And
Whereas public safety telecommunicators provide the first critical contact for those in need of emergency services, they are the first of the first responders and must ascertain the location, nature, and extent of the emergency. In the midst of a person's crisis and under high pressure, public safety telecommunicators exhibit compassion, empathy, and understanding while maintaining a high degree of professionalism. And
whereas the Newton Fire and EMS Department and the Newton Police Department recognize the dedication and service provided by these men and women.
Now therefore I, Leroy Kane, Mayor of the City of Newton, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 9 through 15, 2023 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the City of Newton, and do commend its thoughtful observance to all citizens of our municipality. Dated this 28th day of March, 2023.
Thank you.
Are they in the audience?
There's
several of them here.
So are they willing to be introduced?
I was saying, Mayor, if you might want to step down, I'm sure we probably could like to get pictures.
This is Don Gruber. He is Communications Director for Harvey County 911. And you've been the director for several years now.
Came up on 9 years.
Yeah, so he's just a youngster. No, Don and his team, they do an outstanding job for us. They are our first defense. Obviously, they're the ones answering the call, but when we need something out on the street, they're like our yellow pages. They're at the click of a mic, and they can find whatever we need and whoever we need. It seems like in just a matter of a minute or two or less. So they're outstanding in all they do. If you want to gather your folks, Don, we'll have the mayor come down and we can get a picture of your crew.
And while they're coming up, just recall that these people are not only answering phone calls and dispatching emergency resources, but these are the people you get when you're having a real emergency in your household. For example, heaven forbid, they should need to talk you through doing CPR or something like that on the phone. I mean, these are the people who do that. So we are incredibly grateful for them.
We'll give this to Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're so grateful for all of you.
Do we need a motion to approve that?
Do we need a motion on that?
If we could, please have a motion to accept that proclamation.
I'll make a motion to accept that proclamation.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, number 3, we're going to consider a request from Mennonite Housing to waive $20,000 in permits fees for Phase 2 of Harvest Pointe.
And yes, Mayor, I will take that one, please, since Ms. Rebecca is out on business this evening. So included in your packet was a request from Mennonite Housing from Byron Adrian, and he and Doug are here this evening to speak to this issue as well. The project is entertaining a new phase, and maybe let's back up for those who might not know. Mennonite Housing has been in partnership with the city for multiple years now. I believe it is 2018-ish is when we began the project. At city property, previously owned city property, now owned by Mennonite Housing, near First and Boyd, which is near First and Meridian for reference. And they are building multiple phases of senior-specific, income-specific housing. And it is a universal build housing, so basically no stairs. All of the maintenance is included in the rent, including utilities, those kinds of things. So Phase 1 is in the process of being built out and is partially completed. They're working on certificates of occupancy for several buildings in Phase 1. And there are still some that are even in the slab stage, I believe, and still being framed out. So in that process, Mennonite Housing has been working with Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, KHRC, and they, Mennonite Housing, are applying to KHRC for some tax credits that help offset the costs of the development. And those tax credits are applied to help make sure that those people who needed the income contingent units are able to get those units. So they are looking to apply for a second round of tax credits through KHRC for Phase 2 of the development. And as part of that process, they are graded on a matrix, and they get a certain number of points for community participation and for making sure it's, they get more points for being senior specific, they get more points for being income contingent, those types of items. In the initial development agreement, it was not phased out. It was just the project as a whole, and that is included in your packet just for reference. And initially, they applied for and were awarded tax credits, and you all had given them a $25,000 basically credit or a fee waiver to help them gain extra points on their application, and that's actually what helped us get awarded in the last round. So they are looking for a second round of application for credits to KHRC, and they are hopeful that you would entertain a request from them. Again, there's a letter in your packet for an additional $20,000 worth of tax credits for a Phase 2 application. And again, the original development agreement spoke to the entire project as a whole and not just to a Phase 1 or Phase 2. And so that is kind of what the request is coming to you before this evening, because staff is not authorized to make that request. In full disclosure, everybody knows we've been having recent budget discussions, and our budget is more than incredibly tight. And so we need to make sure we are evaluating every decision and request that comes before us very thoroughly and vetting it to make sure it's the right thing and what's the benefit and the ROI for our community. And I know Mr. Adrian is here and Mr. Bergman is here. I don't know if either of them wish to make any comments. And you're certainly welcome to. However, if there are questions for staff from the bench, we would maybe entertain those quickly in advance of that or maybe afterwards.
Well, so when you applied for the credits the first time, and it was on the agreement as a whole, did those credits get awarded based on the whole, or was that based on phases? Because, and I may not be saying that as appropriately as I should. Does that make some sort? Yes, Yeah. please.
Well, thank you, Commission, for accepting our at least request here, taking a look at that, and thank you, Kelly, for explaining where we're at this point in time. Yeah, Commissioner, when the Phase 1 was awarded, initially that was just for that one phase. So even though we've talked about the overall project here, the fee waivers that were granted those were just for Phase 1. And that was 32 units. And so now we are looking to do an additional 36 units. And so each of these requests for fee waivers stand alone. And that's the way KHRC looks at these projects, even though they're, the overall same project, they do look at them individually, and they each have their own separate entity that's set up for each, and they don't get combined.
So when you say 32, is that 32 buildings?
No.
32,
Units. So the
Okay.
phase one, that we're looking to complete here, most likely by July or August is our time frame on that. That's 32 units, 8 fourplexes. So then
okay,
this,
right, okay.
the phase two, since we've switched now to duplex units, 18 duplex units, 36 units is what we're going to be looking to do with phase two now. And then to finish the project out eventually, phase three would be another 36 units. Originally, what we had anticipated was fitting 120 units on the land. That would have been the way it could have worked out if everything would have been fourplexes. But since we're now needing to switch to duplexes on phase 2 and 3, takes up a little more space to get the units on there. So it's going to end up now being a 104 unit development.
How many units are income-based?
They're all income-based, or they're all residents move in, need to qualify income-wise. There's no market units there.
And may I also add, sir, correct me if I'm mistaken or if I misstate this, but I believe they're also age-specific. They are senior-specific. You must be
That's correct.
income contingent plus age-specific, so 55 and older. So you must be
55 and older.
both.
Correct.
So this question may be geared more toward Chris. When the original agreement states 120 units and you're changing that to 104, is it necessary to redo that agreement?
It wouldn't be necessary to redo the agreement, and you have no obvious obligation here to honor this if that's where it's going. It wouldn't have to be an amendment. Should you elect to provide the waiver, we could come back with just a simple resolution that memorializes your decision. But I will pull up that agreement and.
Well, I just thought, I didn't know, because it was signed by you all and by
Right.
us. And
Right.
so I didn't know if that means, okay, since there's changes that you've made, is it necessary to make that agreement reflect what's actually going to take place instead of,
I don't see that requirement, but I'm going to
Okay.
double check for you.
okay.
And
For
let
sure.
me just explain, the changes that we made were not our decision. We would have liked to have moved through and done the 120 units and done fourplexes, but in conversations with city staff, they informed us that we would not be able to proceed and continue with fourplexes unless we put fire sprinkler systems in, which was cost prohibitive. So based on that, we had to make the business decision to switch to duplexes to make it, to still keep it affordable for residents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been required to put fire suppression in other communities that you've done these units?
Not when we're doing this type of design, no. We have not had to do that in other communities.
How much of the 25,000 credit, is that a full spend? Is that portioned out on that first purchase sale agreement?
Yeah, I mean, the 25,000 would have it's already been eaten up, if you
Okay.
will. Yes,
Just want to make sure it was all spent
Yeah.
before they come back to the well.
yes.
I think it's 23,000.
But it ran out in December 31st. But it was 23,000.
And then if we would, Donna, I'm assuming by what we have here that this is not in our budget. And we
Well,
would have
this
to.
takes money away from the general fund.
Mhm.
What we do is take it out of the EcoDevo and reimburse the general fund is what we've done in the past.
And I do want to add that the 20,000 in fee waivers, pretty big part of the application. It does count for 20 points, and that's one of the higher scoring areas. So it's a big deal in terms of moving forward and getting it approved. It's a very competitive process.
What's the total point, or the point total of the application?
125 in total. And we've already gone through a little over half of those points through a preliminary process. And preliminarily, it's scored okay. It's not the highest, but it definitely has a good shot with where it's at right now. There are a number of them that are lower than this, and so to continue to be competitive, I'd say that the fee waivers is critical for this to be approved, given where it's at right now.
So then would we have to expect another request in for the third phase?
That is correct.
And
Yes, let me be
so if that be the case, I mean, how much is that? Do you know?
another 20,000 for the third phase. Again, these all stand alone, and the fee waivers do not carry over from one phase to the other. It's the way KHRC has set the program up.
I misspoke. We have only spent $23,612 of the 25, is what Donna's showing. I thought we'd already spent all of it.
So we're pretty close.
We're close, yeah.
So, so the phasing in as it pertains to the credits, what's the strategy behind that? Does that have to do more with financing? Or?
Yeah, it has to do with the limited amount of tax credits that KHRC has to award. So they have a maximum amount that we can ask for each year, and so that causes the phasing.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to do everything at one time.
At one time,
Yeah.
okay.
I think the thing that's just gnawing at me, and it's not that I would say no or yes, I'm just thinking, so we'll have had 3 phases that we will have possibly awarded the 25, 20, and 20, which is, what is it? 65.
Yeah, right.
65.
It's too late. I guess what bothers me, down the road, the agreement reflects the whole thing and $25,000. What, is it not necessary to, when looking back on that agreement, that it should reflect that information? I mean, I'm not trying to be troublesome here. It's just that these things are coming up in my thinking, and that's why, you know, when we read the agreement and read it
Sure.
over again, 25, and we have to be responsible before the rest of the taxpayers, since we have had some strenuous, intense budget discussions. And so now we are going to be looking not only at this 20, but a potential 20 down the road for the next phase. And then I guess I'm just asking.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I would
Is
say.
it necessary?
I don't see an amendment being necessary in a quick review.
Okay.
They did obviously purchase the property.
Mm-hmm.
The city maintained a reversionary interest, and it did contemplate phase 1 or phase 2. And again, I think everyone would agree. There's no legal obligation of the city to honor this. This is simply a request in support of the project. And yes, it could have been included in the original agreement to say, hey, if we move on to this and this, you know, you will also waive those fees. The minimum units that needed to be constructed as part of phase 1 was 32, and for phase 2 it's 8. So there is that flexibility there in terms of what would be developed, if that answers your question. So I don't see, again, a need necessarily to amend it, but should you approve, then, you know, we would try to formalize that action. Does that answer your question? or
Yeah,
no?
I think the most helpful thing as far as budget considerations, if we would have known that we were looking at 25, 20, and 20, it might have been, that certainly would have helped us to work that into our thinking, into our consideration. So I'm not trying to be critical. I hope you don't take it that way. I'm just trying to think it through, because our citizens are are understandably watching every,
Sure, I understand.
everything that we are doing and what we're spending, and I understand that and expect it.
Was there any point value in us gifting that drainage reserve, which is valued in between $215,000 and $255,000 up front?
No, there was no point value for that. The only way that we would have got points is if the entire land would have been donated, or if you would have sold it for $5,000 or less. That's KHRC's rules. You know, I would add on the 65,000 of total projected lien waivers that, you know, that's spread out over, I'd say, a minimum of 6 years, and it could be 6 to 8 years, because again, these applications are competitive. We did make application last year for Phase 2, and you did approve this same request last year. We were not awarded Phase 2, but we did submit that last year, and I've got the letter here that the commission did provide this request. So we're coming and asking for it again for Phase 2. And, but again, when you're looking at the budget, I know it's tight and you're accountable. Understand that. We're not talking about just a tax period or a budget, 1 or 2 budget rounds. We're talking about spreading $65,000 over probably 6 to 7 year period.
When is the, as far as cash flow goes, if this goes in and is approved, when is that $25,000 or the $20,000 fee due and payable?
That would be sometime probably mid-2025, because our timing on this is that the applications are due in May. We'll get notified in July, and it'll take us minimum 6 months to work through all the due diligence, so we wouldn't start construction until probably February of 2025. And so sometime after that, you know,
2
probably
years from now?
Is when
Yes.
the money would be due.
That's when that,
That's when the permit.
that's when we would make the request, yeah, to apply that against
Yes,
the cost. So, yeah, it would not be,
Remember, we're not paying money. What we do is we waive
I
the
understand.
fee.
Waive
I
it, right,
understand. We're-
But it'll come out of the economic
It'd
development.
come out of Eco-Devo funds
Yeah.
over to general.
right.
let me make sure I said that right, make sure I didn't get the years a little bit off there. We're in 2023, and that's the year that we potentially would get this approved. We would start in next year, 2024.
Okay, that's,
So, yeah, it would be in 2024, sorry for that.
Okay. What's the difference between if we gave you $10,000 worth of waivers as opposed to 20?
No points,
No points.
no points. It's got to be at least 20,000 in what they classify the rural areas, which Newton meets that
That's the
classification.
minimum, yeah.
If you were metro, I'd be asking for 40,000.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank God we're not metro. More
There you
waves
go,
like this
exactly
stuff.
right.
okay.
So we're we're going to be giving up utilities on what, 16 units then for,
No, sir, they would be utility customers.
yeah, but if they don't build them, they won't be. The difference between 120 and 104.
True, yes, excuse me, I'm sorry, I was misunderstanding your statement, I apologize.
Probably $14,000 to $16,000 a year forever. Well, your thoughts, Mayor?
would have been much clearer in my thinking about this if this was presented from the start, that there's going to be a total of $65,000 requested of fee waivers. I'm having a hard time with it, to be honest with you.
That's where I am.
I would say for us to move forward with additional phases, this is going to be critical. And that's just the way KHRC has designed the program now, and they want to see the jurisdictions participate. and they do put those applications ahead of others where they don't.
So you said you had a previous application fail,
Yes.
and
yes.
then you reapplied?
Yes, and that's typically what we do. We just keep
They usually
reapplying
fail
until
the
it's
first
obvious.
year.
So- And this would be the first application for this phase?
Second application, we did apply last year, and then it got turned down.
Okay.
Phase 2 we applied last year, and it did get turned down.
So even with the credit
Yes,
that we
yes,
gave, it failed?
that's right. That's how competitive these are, and oftentimes it just depends on what other projects they have to look at. And so this would be really close to that line of approved or non-approved. Without the fee waivers, I don't expect it to be approved without the fee waivers. Real honest with you.
Let's
Are
just,
there any other points that the community elsewhere could help you obtain?
No. Again, we've done real well up till now in the preliminary phase, and that's probably close to 2/3 of the points, actually. They look at the amenities that are close by the project, and so that's where a lot of the points are. We did okay in that area, but, where it's at there on West First Street, there's not a lot close by, and so other applications I'm sure did better in the area of amenities. As far as the other areas that are available, we've pretty much done, it's pretty cut and dried. There's really nothing else that I could even, talk about that there would be something additional we could do to get additional points. This is really it right here. As far as getting points, beyond that, it's pretty well just dependent upon this location where it's at.
let's just say that we did not approve the 20,000 tonight, then would you come back to us at some point in the future and request it again for the next round of requests?
You would most likely see me here next year. And we would continue to try to get Phase 2 and eventually Phase 3 completed out there. We wouldn't really want to just leave that property with just Phase 1 and a lot of vacant land there. Until you tell me, no, you're not going to support it, don't even come back. We believe in this project, and we think, I was talking to the manager just on my way over, and she's got the first 2 buildings identified already, working on the 3rd building, has a few people for, some of the summer move-ins, because, it works out better in their timing. And she's still got over 100 names on the list. So the demand that we see is greater than what we had originally anticipated. I asked her, are they coming in from out of town, or are they moving from already living here? And she said most of them are moving from places that they live here in town. Most of them are.
So it's opening up other houses.
Some of them are currently homeowners. More of them rent someplace else. They're not happy. They like what they see. They like what is going on there. So the demand is great. We've got easily over 100 names that we're working through yet. And, probably less than 20 openings for that. So the community is supporting it. The community likes what's there, for seniors to be able to have a place that is close to the community building that we're building and have those amenities, exercise. It's an opportunity for them to have a great, safe place to live and to have their family come in and be able to enjoy that. So, we've done this in many communities, and this is what we're used to doing, and we believe in it. So,
I think we want to be really clear that we definitely support this development. Absolutely, 100%. We want you here, we need you here. The issue, I think that's a sticking point for tonight, is just our budget is really a real challenge for us coming up here, and we know that, and we have to carefully analyze every single dollar. So please don't misconstrue our hesitation with not believing in your project, because we do. We absolutely do.
Okay, thank you.
So when do you have to have your application put in? It's in May?
May 5, it's due May 5. Yeah.
So Donna, could you get us a report on the Economic Development Fund, where we're at and where you think we'll be?
Sure.
Because that's our only place, really.
I do have a question for you. Did you have to revise your criteria, qualifying criteria, since Social Security recipients got a rather large increase this year? Because I think that probably would have thrown some folks into a different bucket.
Well, no, we get the income requirements from the state annually, and they're soon to be revised, and so we just base it off of what
Of what
comes
they
to
do.
us from the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to the mayor's point, sir, and for the benefit of the audience who might not have been listening into our rather spirited and heated budget discussions and utility rate discussions recently, we're looking at things like we are trying to cut, for an example, a similar dollar amount, about $28,000, from replacing current picnic tables because we cannot afford to replace them. So please keep it in context to the mayor's point. It's not that we don't support development and growth in the community by any means, especially for some of our most vulnerable citizens financially. But these are the kind of decisions we're having to make, and they are not easy for any of us at this point in time.
Okay.
So yeah, just for what it might be worth for, like I said, somebody who's watching and listening that might not have been privy to some of those earlier interesting meetings and discussions.
So we still have time then, once we get your report, to have this back on the agenda?
May 5th is the deadline?
May 5th is the deadline. Obviously, I'm going to need it, I can't get it on the 4th.
Sure.
So I can work with
We can
staff. I
address
can,
it at the next meeting.
thank you. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable, if we come back in 2 weeks, we'll know.
Okay.
We'll know what we can do.
Well, I appreciate your support for the project. Thank you.
Yeah.
You need a motion to table that, or what do you need?
That'd be great. Table it to the next meeting, April 11.
I'll make a motion to table item number 3 for Mennonite Housing until the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Next up, we're going to review the draft ordinances amending the rates for water and sewer. Kelly or Donna?
The City Commission has held several work sessions discussing city utility rates. At the last meeting on March 14th, you directed staff to bring ordinances on the utility rates that would keep the transfers to the general fund intact, eliminate the extra payment for the plant upgrade loan, and gradually increase rates over the next few years to keep the utilities solvent. You have both ordinances in front of you. And we go for a total of 6 years on these, but we think they need to be looked at least every 3 years, if not more, just to make sure things are going in the right direction. We'll still be spending down reserves over the next few years. And some of it we'll have less than 3 months of operating reserves in each of the funds. So this is just, we're trying to hit both ways, not hurt people too much, but help ourselves a little bit and get through this period, hopefully the next few years, and see how it comes out. If you have any questions, we've went over this quite a few times.
Yeah.
But what it does is it brings down the sewer charge a little bit and raises the water, so we try to meet in the middle. And so not really increase it on the small users until 25. There'll be, the medium and large users might get less than $1 next year increase
When you combine them.
when they're combined on their total bill.
And this evening was just intended to be a review for you,
See if there's
kind of
anything
a first read.
So are you going to put this on a calendar, something like that, so that when 2026 comes and 2029 comes, it automatically gets reviewed?
I think we should.
I think so too. I
If we
mean, I
don't
wouldn't
do it
even,
more
I mean,
often than
you could
that.
certainly put it in that ordinance so that it's there.
That. Yeah.
not that we should review it, that it will be reviewed.
And we put the 23 on there just to have what we're doing for 23. It's staying the same as it has been the last several years, but it's just on there so we don't have a lapse in there and people can see what we're
Well,
doing.
it's part of these discussions, so,
It is a little confusing on the sewer one. It shows the monthly inside city rate is $38.14. But remember, $3.18 of that is being paid out of the 38% charge. So customers are only paying $34.96.
Not really.
Remember, this is that,
yes.
Not really, I'm not going down that road.
Yeah,
They're paying what they're paying. You're
right,
just-
they're paying 38%. But they're really not paying 38%, they're paying
Right.
38.14, but they're
Yeah.
not paying, I mean, it just goes.
yeah,
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
just trying to be a little transparent here with what is actually going on, what the last ordinance
Right.
said.
right.
And then, are we gonna wait 2 weeks or 4 weeks to bring it back for an actual vote?
Yeah, this wasn't teed up for action, Mayor. It was teed
No,
up
I
for review
understand. I just-
discussion, for sure.
How long do you wanna wait, or how long?
I think that is at the will of the governing body. If you want to take it up next meeting and vote, that would be wonderful. To us, the sooner the better, so we can get everything put in place, update the computer systems, the automatic billing cycles, those kinds of things. Now, I mean, there's nothing, I guess, prohibiting you from taking action this evening if you're comfortable with it. We just didn't know if you'd be comfortable with it, knowing that Commissioner McBroom was absent this evening. But you still have a quorum, so it's truly whatever you all should so desire.
And this will not take effect till January.
Yeah, remember, January 1 is when this goes into effect. So, but in our minds, the sooner the better, so that we have time to notify customers, get the billing stuff updated in our software, all of those types of things. It sounds like simple things, but it always takes longer than we anticipate it's going to for some reason or another. So,
We're also building the 2024 budget, so this will be included in that.
yes.
I guess my question to you would be, how do you feel about just that short amount of reserves, just 3 months? I mean,
It's not a good situation.
Not at all.
well, I mean, when I read that, that just made me kind of cringe, just simply because 3 months is not very much time, and something could take, one thing could happen, it could take that entire. You left it at 3 months for an at least 3 months purpose, at the minimum?
that is-
Or
What the,
or what you ended up,
it's what GFOA, the Governmental Finance Officers Association, I have to say
Association.
it really fast, so I can, recommends for any kind of business. You need to at least have that much in
Okay.
savings. Even a person needs to have that much in savings in case something happens. So that's what that is. Our policy is really just is 5%, and that's not much at all. We'd rather be with the 3 months.
okay.
And also, just recall, I know you guys probably are tired of hearing me say this, but remember, you all are serving dual roles in this. You are not just the city commissioners at this point. You are wearing a completely separate hat, although you're sitting as the same governing body and same people as the Board of Public Utilities. And we have this responsibility by state statute and by best practice and policy, whether it's GFOA or state requirements. Those utilities by law must be solvent. And so we need to make sure we are making sure that happens, because you're not sitting as a city commission to make this decision, even though it's the same group of individuals. You are sitting as the Board of Public Utilities, and that's a different responsibility level.
We
Well,
take it seriously.
I know you do, and it's a big responsibility to have.
It seems to me it would be prudent if we waited till, for 2 weeks to the next meeting so that all 5 of us were here and we could show solidarity however we vote.
Sure.
What do you all think?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you. I think that's the feedback that we needed.
All right. Next item, number 5, we're going to review the proposed Planning Commission Historic Preservation Restructuring. Suzanne or Kelly?
Well, we've discussed this with you a bit, and we have in the packet, we've provided you with the ordinance that would repeal the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Commissions. And then we've provided new ordinance that would restructure the Planning Commission. And we have a review of draft bylaws that are included also for both Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission. And then we have the amended certified local government agreement. Remember, because there's all these pieces to this. We can go into greater detail for you here if you want to, but we have discussed this once, and we want it, more than that. You've talked about this for a long time, and you know that we've sent out letters to the planning commissioners and the historic preservation commissioners, and both our agency and North Newton is aware, because we are splitting from North Newton so that we are able to make decisions for our community and them for their community. And so this is kind of the layout of how things need to happen in order for us to move forward with this process that you have said you are in favor of. One thing that we did talk about previously was the members, how many members would serve on the new commission. And staff favors the 7, because if you have a couple of people that are gone, happen to be on vacation or something at the same time, you want to make sure you have a quorum. And so with 5, it gets tricky. And so if we could shoot towards 7, that would be our preference.
And that was also a recommendation of the SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, was they're okay with 5, but they would prefer 7 as well. And part of that has to do with, under the HPC guidelines, we have to have specific areas of expertise, whether that's an architect or an engineer or a designer, those kinds of things. Right. And so when you have 7, it makes it a little easier to kind of piece in that expertise, especially when it's on top of the Planning Commission.
So the timeline for approving all this and getting it in place?
So the next step is, if you all are amenable and don't have any suggestions specifically for the CLG agreement, that's kind of the time-sensitive one, because that must go through the SHPO, the state office, and then once they approve it, it will come back to you for ratification. And so that is, and they know this is coming. We've been talking about it with them for quite some time and getting their guidance and feedback. So they're aware it's coming. So we could bring it back to you at your next meeting, and we will have an application ready to go out the door, because typically for all of our boards and commissions, we reappoint in April. For the year doesn't run on a calendar year, it's the April to March appointments.
Right.
And so we have multiple members who are termed out on HPC and several on Planning Commission, and that is okay. They continue to serve until we either make a change to those governing bodies or a change to their appointments, or they actually give us a resignation in writing. So right now, we will continue to we won't have a lapse in coverage of either commission. However, could be more than a little time sensitive to get it out the door. And again, we have minor changes to our CLG agreement because it was already in place. And had been previously approved by the SHPO, and the same staff is at the SHPO right now. So we feel pretty comfortable with that. But it does have to go through them first, and then you would need to take official action. So our hope would be, if they could get it turned around fairly quickly, we could bring it back to you at your April 11th meeting, and then we could kick the applications out the door. And in fact, we could technically kick out the application process ahead of time and just say, hey, we are working to reconstitute the Planning Commission and HPC, and here's the application process, and please check whichever box applies. This would be similar to the process you've previously established with LEAP and its reconstitution.
We've already heard from a few of the planning commissioners that they are willing to serve, and we just know there may be others. And so if you're ready for us to move forward, we'd put the application out on the website, have Aaron put it up.
Mm-hmm. We can run that application process concurrently, I guess, with waiting on the SHPO's process, especially since we know that we have minor changes to that CLG that they are already aware. Rebecca's been really great to work with them ahead of time.
Sounds like a plan.
I've heard from a couple of the members, and they're for having this actually happen. At first, there was a little bit of fear of change, I think, but once the discussions were had and they spoke with staff and each other and understood the how this was better for the community, I think they got on board, so I would be in support of it.
And we will, of course, make sure we notify all of the current members. There's 9 members on each board, 6 from Newton on each board, 3 from North Newton, but we will make sure we notify all of our members that they are welcome to apply if they should so desire.
Well, so then we'll deal with this at our next meeting then.
We just wanted any feedback you might have or any thoughts, any concerns. And if not, I mean, you guys have kind of seen these things several times now. No surprises for anybody. We just want to make sure we're rolling on.
So if there's anything you want us to change in any of the bylaws or any of that, we would want your input on that.
Okay.
But we'll march forward with what we have.
March,
Okay. And
We shall.
March into April.
We shall.
Roll on,
march
Tide.
into April.
Very good.
Okay, next item, we're at special assessments. Donna.
Yes, this is the bond issue we were going to do last fall, but everything is taking so long to get done with supplies being late and people not having enough work or something. I don't know what was wrong with it, but anyway. We have 6 special assessment projects that are included in this bond issue. And it's the Summer Crossing Edition for water, sewer, and paving, and Sand Creek 4th Edition for water, sewer, and paving. What you need to do is approve the statement of final costs and consider the assessment roll certification, the notice of public hearing for April 11th, and then you also have to approve the notice of hearing and statement of costs that we send to each of the property owners that are affected. They can pay this off in full if they want to, or in part before May 15th, before all this gets put into place. Several other projects that are coming with this bond issue, of course, is the Wheat Ridge, Lord, I'm having trouble tonight. Wheat Ridge Paddington, the Sea Clip 2022, the Taxiway E construction, the Hangars J and K, KDOT's waterline extension and paving on Southwest 14th. So this is going to be about a $3.9 million bond issue, of which $1 million is the specials. The debt service will be estimated about $300,000 per year, and $78,000 of that will come in from these specials.
Commissioners, I would just suggest that you could take and make one motion for all of these items, and you don't have to take them up individually.
Okay. Well, I would move that we take all of these items into one, is it one ordinance or one?
4 exhibits, approve all 4.
Okay.
All
approve
4 items, A
four.
through D.
Okay,
That's
that's what I move for.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And then item number 7, I think we were supposed to add an amendment to this, is that right? To receive the bids and award contract for the wetland observation area. Suzanne?
Yes, this item, I apologize, we didn't have this on the original agenda. It just got missed. We had a bid opening already scheduled for today, and we received 2 bids on this is the stormwater wetland that will go kind of to the southwest of the existing wastewater wetland. And this will be accessible, allow the area to be accessible by the public. The areas where you can't go will be fenced off. We received 2 bids today. The low bid was from Votes Parga. And we remember that the total of this project that you're seeing before you, the construction for this, would be paid for by private funds. Remember, we have a foundation that has contributed $150,000, the Rhodes Foundation, and we have additional donors, and that the Kansas Alliance on Wetlands and Streams has been the one that has been putting this whole project together. So we would recommend that you award the bids to Votes Parga for the $261,373.86, and then we will provide an invoice to CAUSE, and then they will provide the dollar amount into our project accounting, and we will be the one that will be paying out to the contractor. They ask that we handle the bidding and the payments. We have an agreement on the books with them, if you recall.
Right. Mayor, I would move that we award the bid to Votes Parga in the amount of $261,373.86.
I second.
Okay. There is I would just like to make note that it is, close to $3,000 under engineer's estimate. So there has been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is passed. Let's see, on our citizens forum, we have Luke Edwards has signed up. You want to come up?
Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for doing what you do. I know it's not always an easy job, but I know that you volunteer a lot of your time, put in a lot of hours to do what you think is best for the community. I appreciate that. And, you know, I got to tell you, I think it might feel a little bit more comfortable sitting on this side than sitting in those chairs up there, believe it or not. I come to you tonight. You probably have heard some news from the school district. The Newton School Board last night voted to initiate statutory proceedings necessary to close the Walton Elementary School building. This is not an easy decision. Closing a school is not a decision anyone takes lightly. Most simple explanation, to not take too much of your time, is that we have over 400 less kids than we had 7 years ago. And given that we have less kids to teach, you could imagine we need less teachers to teach them with and less space to teach them in. The 4 in-town schools that we have are well beyond the capacity needed to house and educate our 986 current kindergarten through 4th grade students. For those that do not know, enrollment throughout the entire state of Kansas is down in public schools. There's many factors that go into that drop in numbers. I'm not going to get into that tonight. I can tell you that the district as a whole has done many things, have made many steps toward making Newton more attractive where people are happy to attend our buildings. The Walton Rural Life Center has had an enormous and positive effect on the students who attended there, the teachers who taught there, and everyone affiliated with the school. The community of Walton has poured in countless hours and dollars to support that school. I do not believe there's a single board member who does not respect the accomplishments of the Walton School and the work that has been done to make it as successful as it has been. There are elements of the Walton School, approach to education that I would like to see continue within our 4 school buildings in the city. I know, and I've received a lot of feedback that echoes this, that no school culture can be duplicated precisely in another location. However, part of the Walton culture that makes it unique is the presence of animals on campus that are not seen in most any elementary school throughout the country. The students there love interacting with the animals, and it is part of what has made the school special. As we began talks about possible consolidation of schools, I have always advocated for the possibility of bringing elements of the Walton School, their program, into our in-town schools. This suggestion has always been considered an unreasonable expectation by some, and part of that is due to city ordinances that might ban the presence of certain animals within city limits. I'm coming to you tonight to see if the ordinance regarding animals within city limits can be reviewed and perhaps language could be added that would allow special permissions for animals to reside within city limits if they are being cared for within the jurisdiction of an educational entity such as USD 373. Now, having said that, I don't know if that is without a doubt going to be part of the school's curriculum moving forward. But I would rather not have there be an obstacle in the road if we decide to go down that path. If that ordinance could be reviewed, considered, if there's any language that could be added that would make that a possibility, I would like to have that, I guess, tool in the tool bag as a possibility to bring that program into the in-town Newton schools. So,
could you provide a list of the types of animals that you have out there and what that curriculum is built around, so that that's something we could have to consider as Chris and his staff?
I could get you an exact list and maybe send that in to Chris. Yeah, I could do that.
And that would be something, and I think, Luke, it may have been before you were on the school board, several years ago when there was an initial bond issue when I first started working here, I think 7 or 8 years ago, there was an inquiry about relocating a school to the south side that might house that same type of curriculum. And at that point in time, Mr. Myers was the city attorney, and we looked into it, and there were certain allowances already in place in the code. Now, that said, we have since adopted a new zoning code, so let us relook at that and double check. But if you had very specific types of animals, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because we have updated not just our zoning ordinances, but also the city code with animals. I'm sure you guys recall the fun discussions about bees and chickens and such. So let's make sure we're looking into these things and making sure we're digging into everything appropriate to get you a really good, solid answer.
I know it's kind of changed over time. I don't think they've always had the exact same animals every year.
Sure, and
but I
that,
could
yeah,
just get you
absolutely.
maybe an extensive list.
Absolutely, that would be understandable. Even if it's something they don't have now but think they might have in the future.
Right.
Again, like whether it's goats or cows or whatever it might be, that would be very helpful, I think, to Chris and his team. But again, we did look into this once in the past, but it's been 7-8 years ago, and we've had a number of code changes both in zoning code and city code since then. So we want to be sure we're getting you all and the board an accurate report.
Excellent. Any initial thoughts on, if we feel like that would be something that could be a possibility, or?
I think it's a great program, and I would personally do whatever I could to see that you could bring that program to town.
Excellent.
Same sentiments here, absolutely.
Wonderful.
I agree.
Mayor and I were just talking about that before the meeting this evening, that should be an option to be looked at and everything, and kudos. I mean, you don't get what you don't ask for, so, thanks for coming up and raising that question.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and everything that you do, and I will try and get you a good list as far as the exact types of animals that we've held in our school over the years. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a cause for an executive session or not?
I think we can pass this evening. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, then, let's go around the horn. Mr. Rich?
Thank you, sir. I'm tired tonight, so I don't have a whole lot to say. Thank you to everybody for all your hard work, and kudos to the dispatch team and communications team. Congratulations for some recognition that's probably long overdue.
Ditto, totally ditto. And we're so thankful. We can't do what we do as public safety without them. We literally cannot do it. And so we're incredibly thankful, and we don't say that often enough. Just one item of note for you all this evening. On April 29th, we will be hosting, in partnership with Harvey County Emergency Management and PD and Newton Fire EMS and probably several other agencies, we are going to be hosting the annual the Harvey County Safety Fair. And it will be at the Chisholm Trail Outlet Mall from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And there will be vehicles on display. It is free to the public. We would welcome everybody to come. There are activities for children and adults and learning opportunities. I understand there's going to be some rappelling going on.
Yes. Sweet.
Yes. Not by me either. Otherwise, they would be responding to me.
Rich was saying he wanted to do some.
Aussie or regular?
Yeah.
I'll run it by legal.
That's about
Does that mean does that mean we'll be rappelling up the side of the outlet mall there? Is that what's gonna?
Down.
Go down, I believe.
Some
And
of
I'm-
us needs a little gravity to make that deal work.
Other partners would include the Red Cross and Health Ministries, and there are some door prizes. There's going to be several food trucks there, including our very own Taco Mike's and taters and toppings, bouncy houses for the kids, and those kinds of things. So it is open to the public. We welcome everyone to come. Please come out and learn about our public safety and volunteer opportunities, especially like with Red Cross and blood donations and those kinds of things. So please help us share that news, and we will continue to push it out on our site as well.
Okay, Saturday, the 29th, and what time?
April 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., ma'am,
11 to 2.
at the Outlet Mall. I don't think you're going to be able to miss it. I bet you there's going to be some lights and sirens going on out there.
No, sir.
No, thanks.
Just thank you to everyone, and especially your team tonight. Thank you very much.
She said Rebecca was somewhere on business. She's actually at the Main Street.
She is. She's at the National Main Street Conference.
And I don't think people understand what we're trying to do with Main Street. Everybody keeps talking about, let's do something with Main Street. There's a lot going on that's going to put us in a position where there's going to be a greater chance to do things on Main Street. And then I wanted to just take a moment. It's really important we get young people involved in politics, and last night they made some real tough decisions at the school board, and I just want to honor you, Luke, for being involved. So, pretty important for somebody to carry the torch, and I feel real comfortable with you doing that, And, you know, the city, I'm proud to have you as a city employee and sticking your neck out there. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I would certainly like to echo that. It's, you know, when you're in the public eye and you have tough choices to make, strong leaders have to make strong choices. And there's gonna be all kinds of eggs and tomatoes thrown at you, and it's okay. I mean, it's not okay at the time, but it's okay to stand up in the midst of the storm, because when you see a vision ahead, and I think that's what the five of us are very much trying to do. We see a vision ahead of us, and we're trying to navigate that to get to some points in the future where things are gonna be more positive and growth is happening. And so, but meanwhile, you know, the arrows are coming and we have to deal with it. And so I commend you for standing up in the face of all that. It wasn't just last night. I mean, it's been over a time frame here. So, yeah, I'm proud of all of our team. By our team, I mean our whole city, and those of us who represent and try and be involved and do the very best we can. We have a great team. We really do. So thank all of you. We are adjourned.